Okay, so I'm making a quick, just like a personal vlog entry today, as I'm coming into the final testing of my third order ambisonic live streaming network, or workflow, or infrastructure, or however we want to describe it. Ideally, I've been working with Thomas Depisic of IAM and his colleague Nils for a little while. They have been working on a JavaScript bundle called Host 360, which is an immersive media player that's capable of delivering a fully spherical 360 image with up to 4th order ambisonics. Now, they've adapted what previously could just handle file-based content to actually now be able to receive MPEG manifests. So ideally, I just wanted to talk quickly about what I'm doing today to set this up and how I'm getting it working. So ideally, as I've spoken before in my vlogs, I've set up this whole network which I've now actually optimized. So before we were using 4 machines, a Wowzer web server no longer being used, a MacBook Pro which I was sending audio to via Dante from my Mac Pro, which is, so the MacBook Pro is no longer, so the Wowzer streaming server and MacBook Pro no longer there, and we have my Mac Pro and my Windows machine. Now currently the Windows machine has a powerful graphics card in it, so that's doing the video rendering, and the Mac machine has all my interfaces hooked up and is set up nicely to broadcast, stream third order ambisonics. Now ideally, I found a program called BidDualPlug, which basically means that I can reroute the outputs of a virtual audio interface back into its inputs. So it means that instead of having to output audio from my Mac Pro into my MacBook Pro, I can just spin it around on itself inside my Mac Pro. So that negates the need for that. Getting rid of the Wowzer streaming server, I have developed some scripts with FFmpeg that allow me to both on the Windows machine. So on the Windows machine we've kind of dropped OBS, but I'm potentially still going to use it, and we're just using an FFmpeg script. And on the Mac machine we are just using an FFmpeg script now, and that does all the dashing and everything. So what we have today is Thomas has sent me a package, his host package, which contains a few. So I'm just going to spin the camera around here. So ideally, the down here, this is what Thomas has sent me, and we've got a web page and some other like bits and pieces here. I've had to create my own web server. This is what's running here. So we're using Node.js and HTTP-server to create a local web server. So ideally on my desktop I've created a folder called host, and in there I've dropped all of this package that Thomas has delivered to me. That means that if I now load up a web browser and type in my local server address, which we can see is here, 127.0.0.1, and 8080 is my port number. Then we can see this. This is all well and good. We can run the website, which is here, which is great. And if we see this, we'll see that it'll complain that there's no media, but that's fine because there isn't any media there. So what we're basically going to do is we're going to run up the FFmpegs and we're going to send all of our media to here. Now this is where the web player looks for the content. So ideally, now I'm just going to work through a network of piecing together these little bits and bobs. So we're gonna set up a mic, probably over here somewhere, into my interface. Then that's going to come into Reaper, and we're going to spatialize that into third order ambisonics. Just a simple mic, nothing special. We're not trying to create any meaningful content at this stage. And then my Reaper template has a few different bits and bobs, and it helps split things up and kind of do things we need so that the content can be manageable on the output if we need to adjust things later on in the chain, which is something I'll come to. From there, we output via Soundflower and then into Bidial Plug, which then puts it back into the input of Soundflower, and that input is what we're grabbing in FFmpeg. In FFmpeg, we grab the 16 channels of audio, we map them into two 8-channel feeds, and from there we dash it. We mpeg dash the audio streams. So what we end up with is two audio manifests with consecutive chunks being created as the stream progresses in time, and we basically tell FFmpeg to send that manifest and those chunks to this web server that I've set up now. So that's like our audio pipeline. And then we have the video pipeline, which we kind of do a similar thing, but something which I'm going to look at today is we're just going to set the camera, which I've got here. We're going to set that up, and we're going to just plug it in, and we're going to try just the FFmpeg scripts that I've got, and then just see if we can get the player playing something. No doubt it's going to be out of sync, and it might not look correct, and it might be a little bit, but this will be the first time we've run it, so this is all to be expected. Now this is where OBS might come back into it, because ideally I've made a test card and a third order ambisonic test file, which I will look to synchronize and play out simultaneously. So with any luck, I can get OBS to encode what am I trying to say here? Yeah, so I can get it's getting quite confusing. So I can get OBS to encode using FFmpeg using pretty much identical settings to what I actually have the FFmpeg script, and then I can flip between either a live camera or a test card which I've made, which I will synchronize with my Reaper project, so that when we start the video we also start the audio file, and with any luck we can check for sync, spectral anomalies, anything that's happening, frequency degradation, and synchronicity, things like this, and we can take all of this data. When we've finished, that'll be a full system start to end. We can then open up the folder that I have here locally, and it will have a bunch of chunks. So it will have a video chunk, audio channels 1 to 8, and audio channels 9 to 16. It will have 3 manifests for those, and then it will have all of the consecutive chunks to go with that. So I can then grab all of that, re-encode it into a local file-based format. So we can maybe go to .wav or AIFF or some sort of audio format, file format container for the audio, and then we can also go to say .mp4 for the video, and then we can just pull that together and see what we've got at the tail end of things. So I'm just gonna spend a little time working on that, and then hopefully I can come back to you a little bit more excited with some results.